Hey YouTube, and welcome back to Mike's Mini Motors. So in today's video, what we're going to be doing is getting rid of this centrifugal clutch. It's just a cheap one that I picked up off of eBay, and it's cheap. It's very noisy. It engages when it's not supposed to. Like when I'm starting up the engine to let it idle and warm up, it'll grab and move the bike forward and have it tip over, and it's a big pain in the butt. So that's going to go away, and we're going to install this guy. And this whole kit here is the 30 series torque converter with the upgraded Juggernaut driver. Now I do know that this thing really shines in the higher RPMs, which I'm not going to see yet because this still has the governor on it. So here soonish, when I am able to get the governor taken off, then I'll really notice the benefits of this. But with this kit, it's nice. It comes with everything. It even got the cover. It did come blue, but I painted it black because blue would have looked weird on here. It comes with all the hardware you need. And then since this is the Mega Moto or Monster Moto frame, I also had to buy this adapter plate for the engine. Because this frame member here, the torque converter can't mount until you tip the engine forward. And they say that on some engines you have to relocate the tank because it pushes it forward and up, and so it might hit into here. So I might have to do that. We'll address that when we get to that point. And I'm hoping I don't have to modify my header to clear again. But I did also just figure out how to do chapters in my videos. So if you've got a mini bike that's not the Mega Moto Monster Moto with this issue here, you can skip ahead just straight to the torque converter install if that's what you want to see. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with getting this motor off of here. And then we can do the torque converter install. And then we will test to see how it drives. Because I did look at the video when I first got the motor on this thing, and its top speed was 26 miles an hour, and that was with the 75 tooth gear. Now I have the 59 tooth gear on here, and yesterday I drove it around and tested my top speed again, and I got it up to 33. So we'll see how this guy compares. So I'm going to get this motor pulled off of here. So I got the engine off there. That's fairly simple. Also got my original mounting plate taken off too. And this is going to get reused. It actually bolts right to this plate. And then lets you still have your adjustments for chain alignment and tension, all that kind of stuff. But one thing I just realized I didn't do is, this is just raw steel. So I need to paint it, otherwise it's just going to rust. So I figured while I do that, I'm going to probably also hit some of the spots here on the original engine plate, because they took a grinder to it and chopped it all up, and there's all sorts of just exposed steel. So I'll just cover it up just to try to prevent any rust, and then we'll get back to putting this all back together. Alright, so these are painted and dried now, the angle plate and then just even the stock engine plate. But this plate here that lifts up the motor, actually it mounts to the stock engine bolt holes on the stock plate. So I'm just going to get that bolted on there. I'm not going to tighten it down because I do have adjustment there as well as with this plate until I get the engine back on there, and we'll do the chain alignment, and then we can get it all cinched down. But I'm going to go ahead and get that bolted on and this bolted to it, and then we should be able to get the engine back in here. So we got the plates on there, all ready to go. It's fairly simple. You just bolt them into the stock holes, and then make sure you put these ones that go to the engine in through this plate before you put it on here. Otherwise, you're gonna have to take it back off. So now I'm gonna try to fit the engine on here and see if I have to relocate the gas tank. And fingers crossed I don't, because right now the only option I would have is just to put it right here. So let's see how she fits. So unfortunately, just to get the motor in here, I did have to pull the gas tank. Luckily, it's only 2 nuts and 1 bolt, and it comes right off. I don't think it's going to fit back in there, so I'm just going to leave it off, and I will go ahead and mount it up here somewhere, and then I might need to extend the fuel line. But one thing I wanted to show you guys too is this is what I've done a lot of times on fuel lines. You just need to cap it real quick. You can just throw a golf tee in there and put the clamp on it, and it's held up for me. So, but I think at this point I'm going to go ahead and get this clutch off of here, and then we can start mounting up the back plate for the torque converter. So I disassembled the back plate for the torque converter, pulled the rear pulley off, just to make it a little easier just to work with getting it on here. Excuse me. And these do come with an assortment of different mounting holes for different engines and stuff. So I lined it up, and the ones that line up for me are the inner circle middle ones, and that way, otherwise this part on the back here either hits into the head or into the mount down here. So I'm just gonna put it on there. And I also did just grab my exhaust and see if I could get it back on there, and unfortunately I cannot. I kind of expected it, because especially since I have the under seat one, it's going to be up into the seat, so I will have to modify that, but I'll do that off camera. If I'd had the header that came out and wrapped around the side here, it had just been up, and it might have still been needed to be modified, but I'm not sure. So anyways, let's get this guy bolted up and then start putting it all together. Alright, the mounting plate's all installed now. It's just these 4 bolts, really easy. But now I can take the shaft for the rear pulley and slide it back in. Hopefully it's not too much of a pain. Oh yeah, nice and easy. So then also when you order these kits, they come with I think it's a 12 tooth for number 35 chain. And then also this guy is a 10 tooth for a number 40, 41, 420 chain. This guy I'm running 35, so I will then put this guy on. And the washer. And the washer has a little cutout for the, see if you guys can see that, for the keyway. So, speaking of which, I'm going to put that in next. Just line these items up with it. And now the pulley goes on. Okay. And then the other washer without a keyway cut out. And lastly, the nut. And that I'm not going to tighten all the way down yet, just because I've seen the belt be put on this guy where they put on the pulleys and then put the pulleys on together. And then I've also seen it where they take the Juggernaut apart, but I'm not sure which way I'm going to do it yet, so I'm going to leave that loose. Alright, so now we're ready to put the Juggernaut on there. And one thing to point out, let's see if I can show you. If you look, this rear face is flat and this is angled. And your belt actually, let me flip it inside out a bit, matches that. Let's see. There's an angle on this side more so than on this side. And so that's got to match up with your pulley. So otherwise, I think it'll thrash your belt or act weird or something. But I just know you're not supposed to do it that way. So what you need to put on your output shaft of your engine first is the big spacer. Slide that in there, and then the washer. And now you can take your keyway tap it in there, and then I'm going to try to put this thing on without having to take this thing apart. See if I have enough room this way. Make sure my belt's the right way. Get her started on there. Yeah. Line up the keyway. Bam. Ah! Oh, actually that was fairly simple to do it that way. So yeah, there, she's on there. And then you take the big bolt, comes with it. I'm gonna put some Loctite on it. And it goes right in here. All right, we're hooked up. And yeah, now I gotta get my chain lined up with the engine. So that's what we'll do now. Engine's now mounted down. That's kind of a pain. There's a total of 12 different bolts mounting this here to the chassis now, and they all have like adjustments. So trying to tighten one without screwing up the other, it was a pain, but I got it. Now I've also got the chain. I got to shorten it quite a bit because now we're only going to behind here instead of all the way up here. So I've measured it out here, and I know where I need to take the link off. So I'm going to take my chain delinker, I don't even remember what you call this thing, and shorten this chain, and then we'll hook it back up, and then this side of things should be good to go, and then I'll have to get to the gas tank. Alright, chain's all on there. The tensioner set and everything. And had to adjust the motor a little bit more. But next thing we can do is put the cover on the torque converter. But I have to modify it first. See, you can see my lines kind of. I've got right there where I'm going to have to cut out of this here. One, because that's where the chain comes through. And two, the frame right here still hits this because of how... If I had a half link for my chain, it would have been a little bit further forward, but unfortunately I don't have one, so I had to slide her back a bit. And yeah, so I'll get that cut up, and then this thing should be able to just bolt on. There you have the cover. I might clean it up just a little more, but I just had to cut that section out, and now with that out, bam, she fits. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt her on for now, and then I will have to pull it back off and repaint it, or touch up some paint because I got scratches and plus where I cut. So get that bolted up real quick, and then we will move on to... I'll show you the header. It's not going to work. I'm gonna have to modify that, and then we'll move on to the gas tank. So here you can see how the muffler tries to go in. Like I can't even get it. Like the motor's too tall now to even, it's hitting right here, that I'm gonna have to, I think, cut the flange off and clock the exhaust down, and then maybe even notch something here to bring the muffler back up and in line. I don't know, like I said, that'll all be done off camera and I'll get to that. But then now this mammer jammer, I'm gonna mount it some way up here. So here's my solution I came up with for the tank. It's on there. All I did is I made a strap kind of thing out of metal and bent it and tried to get to where it'd go behind this plastic cover. I don't know what you want to call it. And then it comes down onto the other side, and then on this side it's got the two studs that were on the tank that went through here, and then this stud here is the one that went. So it's actually 90 degrees. But that puts the fill hole in the center, and it just makes it more symmetrical. So it should be good. I put some rubber scrap pieces I had between the tank and the frame before bolting it down, just so it's not going to vibrate, hopefully. So yeah, then I just routed that down along here. That's the new fuel line to back to the carburetor. And now it's going to be this is what we have left, which I'm not looking forward to because I just did all this. You guys just seen me in the last video. So I got to pull it all back off and then cut it and modify it. So let's get to doing that. So this is the reconfiguration I came up with. Ended up, didn't seem like it was going to want to come back underneath and go under the seat very well. So I cut it and angled this down, and then this part that I cut off came here, so then the muffler will be sitting about like that. And then this will all be wrapped again, so that just to help protect it from burns. Yeah, I think that's going to work. I originally had it on here, and I had the header that came down too close to the plastic cover here, and I didn't want to burn it and melt it, whatever. So I cut it off, redid it. But now I can pull it off, fully weld this thing up, clean it up. I'll paint it again, wrap it, you know, all that fun stuff. So again, I'll do that off camera because you guys already seen that in the last video. And yeah, so let me get this done, and then we should be able to test drive this thing, I believe. All right, so all the work is done now. We got the torque converter with Juggernaut driver installed. Had to relocate the tank up here. It's mounted pretty good, and got my exhaust done. So it comes down here. It's fairly flat and straight, but not perfect. But I did try to reuse this header wrap, and I don't think you're probably supposed to reuse it because it doesn't look very good now. So one of these days I'll pull it back off and redo it. But now the only thing we got left to do is take this thing outside and see how she performs, and then see what the new top speed is. And I'm hoping it should be quite a bit better, but we'll find out. So the Juggernaut torque converter setup's all installed. The engine mounting modifications, all that, it's all good. It worked. It actually slowed me down though. Like on my phone, my GPS speedometer said I got up to a max of 24, which is even less than the stock gearing and everything. But I did notice, like you probably see in the GoPro video, that this thing lifts off. Like it's wanting to wheelie, where before the torque converter it didn't want to with the gearing change. So I'm gonna have to probably mess around with the gearing a bit. I'm also gonna have to order a half link for this chain. I'm not quite a fan of how it's pretty tight, but I'd like it a little looser, and I can have the adjustability with the tensioner. But I think, well, I know what I need to do now is I'm gonna do the, I think it's a stage 2 kit, so the flywheel, aluminum flywheel and everything, so I can safely remove the governor, and then I should really be able to see the benefits of this Juggernaut. So subscribe if you haven't yet, if you want to see that stuff coming up. I also got the monstrosity motor there, which I'll be ordering parts to get started on that build here soon. So yeah, we got these mini bikes. I also just got something pretty exciting that will be in the next video when I'm putting it together. And so stay tuned for that. And yeah, if you like what I'm doing, like the video, leave me a comment, and have a great day.